Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with the miserable liberal and Ron Placone. Hey.
Howdy, howdy.
I'm miserable.
So we've told you before that what we thought about this Russia thing, right? Whether Russia hacked into John Podesta's emails or the DNC's emails or whatever, who cares? Because what they did was reveal the truth. And by the way, we do the same thing to other governments all the time. America takes credit for getting Boris Yeltsin installed as president of Russia. We tapped Angela Merkel's phone was revealed. We just overthrew the government in Ukraine and installed a horrible one, a right-winger. We did that. So we also told you, we've shown you that the WikiLeaks revealed that Hillary Clinton's internal campaign polling revealed that her biggest vulnerability was her connection to Russia and the uranium deal. That once people found out that her husband got $500,000 from a Russian connected bank for the uranium deal, that where they gave Russia 20% of our uranium production, that hurt her. So they already knew. And so what do? What does Machiavellian tactics do? Your biggest vulnerability, you throw it on your opponent. And that's exactly what happened. So they threw this on, and we keep waiting for the evidence, right? That's what we've been saying. Hey, so you've been saying this since last July. It's now a year. You have every text, phone call, and email that everyone of Trump and Trump's administration and his friends and his relatives and everyone has. You got them. And we know Trump is unbelievably sloppy. You don't have no evidence. So we just kept saying, where's the evidence? So, and by the way, it's being even if there was something to do with it, to focus this much attention on it is ridiculous. And it's propaganda being propagated by the DNC, being pushed by the DNC, John Podesta, now MSNBC, now CNN, now Washington Post, at New York Times. It's how propaganda works. So this guy, James O'Keefe, who has a horrible reputation, right? He doctored those videotapes about Acorn.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Acorn thing.
Acorn,
Yeah.
right. So that was a different right-wing manipulation of video. So it all started with Acorn. They charged all these charges. It turned out none of them was true, but they defunded Acorn anyway. Yeah. So he's had some other problems since then, doing things illegally, calling it journalism. So they got some undercover footage of a senior CNN producer. And this looks to all be legit. Right, Ron? You saw this. This looks legit.
Mm-hmm.
So this all looks legit, that this is that guy. This is the senior producer from CNN. And he caught him saying some very compromising things about the way CNN and the mainstream news media have been covering Russia. Just like we've said, they're pushing the Rachel Maddow. She's got the #1 rated show on cable. Why? I don't know. Maybe because McCarthy had a good scheme to get ratings, because that's what she's doing, McCarthyism. And that's what this is. And it's being done at MSNBC. It's being done at CNN, Washington Post, New York Times. I mean, horribly. They just smeared Lee Camp. I don't know if you know who Lee Camp is, but he's a great comedian with a great show on RT. They just did a horrible takedown smear job of Lee Camp. In the New York Times, a frickin' comedian. And they had to post lots of retractions to it because they got all the facts wrong. So here he is. So listen to this. This is him talking to a CNN senior reporter about the Russia thing.
So you believe like the Russia thing's a little crazy, right?
Even if Russia was trying to swing an election, we try to swing their elections. We're in our CIA and doing shit all the time. Like, we're out there trying to manipulate governments. Like, you win because you know the game and you play it right. She didn't play it right.
There's a senior CNN producer saying exactly what the hell we've been saying. Well, let's say they did do that. Doug, guess what? The sun's going to come up tomorrow, right? Yeah, that's not news. America tries to get involved in all the elections. We played you audio tape of Hillary Clinton saying we shouldn't allow an election in Palestine unless we know how it's going to turn out, unless we can assure how it's going to turn out. So there he is. So there's a senior producer at CNN admitting what we've always said, that even if this is true, big F, what they did was they revealed the truth. A, B, all countries do this to each other. Again, we got caught tapping Angela Merkel's phone. She's an ally. Okay.
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
So then why is CNN constantly pushing the Russia meme? That's a good question.
Drum roll.
And
Because it's ratings.
Because ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
In the month of May, CNN's ratings were significantly higher than they were the year before. The Russia story and Trump have made CNN millions.
Because of
as they have Rachel Maddow, as they have sold lots of papers. So people would always ask me, hey, what is it for the Washington Post and the New York Times to lie us into the Iraq war? Sells a lot of papers. CNN gets a lot of ratings.
So my boss, I shouldn't say this, my boss a couple days yesterday, we were having a discussion about this dental shoot, and he's like, I just want you to know what we're up against here. And he goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
the CEO?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So even the climate accords, he was like, okay, a day or so, but we're moving back to Russia.
Wow, I thought it was Trump who was the monster because he pulled out of the accords. Turns out CNN doesn't. They're bottom lining the whole thing. Yeah, we'll cover it, but let's move on. Let's get back off of that. That climate change is not as important as making money of pushing a false story. That's your news station. That's why a guy like Jeff Zuckerberg is the head. He's not a news person, Zuckerberg. He's a guy who just wants to make money. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't have integrity about news. That's why they hire a guy like Jeff Zuckerberg to run CNN. Not because he has journalistic integrity, vision, knows how to raise its reputation, because he's going to squeeze every dollar out of it, man, and it doesn't matter how you do it. He's going to hire guys. You look at who he hires. Corey Lewandowski, Jeffrey Lord.
Oh, it's Jeff Zucker, by the way.
What did I say?
Not Zuckerberg.
I call him Zuckerberg?
Yeah, you're mixing up your media moguls.
I got the say Zucker.
It's a combination.
Jeffrey Zucker. I said Zuckerberg.
Jeff Zucker, yeah.
Zucker. So there's more to this. Let's watch.
Bonifield says CNN's CEO Jeff Zucker demanded that his news channel get back to the ratings winner that Russia is for CNN. Was that an editorial call or a business call?
What do you think?
It's so hard to decide.
This is how shitty corporate news is, that they can make this guy look good. Veritas, this guy, James O'Keefe. This guy who was completely discredited before this. He was.
Yeah, he does.
He has
like, he
zero reputation, completely discredited. Now the guy's got a scoopsy. That's how bad, just Hillary Clinton is such a bad candidate, she turned Jake Tapper into a comedian. CNN is such a shitty news organization, they turned James O'Keefe into fucking Walter Cronkite. So there's more to this.
So I understand it's all ratings, right?
Oh, it's a business. It's a business. People are like, the media has like an ethical...
Do you hear what he just said? He goes, people like the media has an ethical... That's the verbal equivalent of...
Yep.
But all the nice, cutesy little ethics that used to get talked about in journalism school, you're just like, that's adorable. That's adorable. Yeah, this is a business. Especially cable news, cable news isn't the New York Times, and it's not even like NBC News. I mean, NBC News still gets 20 million viewers a night. Cable news is getting 1 million. So, like they gotta do what they gotta do to make their money, I think. And so I love the news business, but
I find it so
I'm
fascinating.
very cynical about it. At the same time, so are most of my colleagues.
That's an interesting peek under the hood.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say this is an interesting peek under the hood.
Especially learning that ethics are adorable.
They're adorable because it's a business. Ethics are adorable because this is a business, meaning because we don't give a shit, we're trying to make money. That's when he says this is a business. What that means is this is about money, not about journalism, not about informing people, not about helping the country, not about helping the electorate, not about shoring up democracy or strengthening our. This is about money. And that's it. And if they can make more money pushing a false story, impugning the president or whoever else, or anybody who they'll do it. Did you really need this guy to tell you that, though? But I'm glad they did. I'm glad we have it now. There's more to this.
Yeah, it's like
I'm not alone.
Bonifield has worked for CNN as a journalist and producer for nearly 15 years. He not only gave us a tour of CNN's main newsroom, he gave us a window into the editorial bias and anti-Trump agenda of the organization.
I think that there are a lot of liberal CNN viewers who want to see Trump really get scrutinized, and I think if we would have behaved that way with President Obama and scrutinized everything that he was doing with as much scrutiny as we applied to Donald Trump, I think our viewers would have been turned off. I think they would have thought like we were attacking him. But I think our viewers right now, and I'm not saying all of our viewers are super liberals.
Right.
I think there's just a lot of them, and
so Trump's good for business, you're saying?
Trump is good for business right now.
But
That's wild to hear that guy say that they didn't scrutinize Barack Obama in the way they're scrutinizing Donald Trump. A, I know it. But B, it's just, he's like, yeah, this is our newsroom philosophy. This is how we're doing it. Isn't that wild? To me, this is very, again, it's nothing we didn't already suspect. But to hear them say it so blatantly, and heard him say that he's cynical about the news business, as are all his colleagues.
Yeah.
That's pretty heavy duty. Cynical? Cynical. Wow. Not skeptical. Cynical.
Yeah.
You know, Jimmy, I was just looking up what CNN had to say about this exchange, and Brian Stelter, your favorite guy, he said, CNN stands by our medical producer, John Bonifield. Diversity of personal opinion is what makes CNN strong. We welcome it. We embrace it.
Diversity of issues, not so much. We like the stuff that makes easy clickbait.
So that's the guy, the host of Reliable Sources, who I've always suspected was just as horrible as the rest of them. He just happens to host that show. Turns out just as horrible as the rest of them. What he's doing to you right now is gaslighting you. Because you see a senior producer at CNN say that all their reporting is based on money and it doesn't matter. And by the way, there's no basis. In fact, but there's more to this, by the way, we're going to show you. And then the guy who hosts Reliable Sources comes out and says, none of that matters. Yeah, that's okay. That's not a bad thing. There's nothing bad. That's gaslighting. So Brian Stetzler, whatever his name is, he's gaslighting you right now, which is a more insidious form of lying. That's a lie. It's more insidious because it makes you think like you're crazy. You're like, oh, I thought this was a big story. I thought this revealed every bad thing I ever thought about the mainstream news media. And then Brian Stelter comes along and says, no, it's okay. Nothing the big deal. And you're like, oh, I guess I'm crazy. That's what gaslighting is. And that's what the host of Reliable Sources is doing right now. So they double down on their horribleness. I always knew that guy was just as bad as the rest of them. And here he is, the guy, the host of a frickin' news show, which is called Reliable Sources, is right now lying to you in public. Isn't that hilarious? It's funny and sad. Here's the definition of cynical. The definition of cynical is believing that people are motivated by self-interest, distrustful of human sincerity or integrity. So he says that most of his friends in news are cynical about news. Okay, there's more to this.
Trump is good for business right now.
But honestly, you think the whole Russia shit is just like bullshit.
Could be bullshit. I mean, it's mostly bullshit right now. Like, we don't have any big giant proof. But then they say, well, there's still an investigation going on. And you're like, yeah. I don't know. If you were finding something, we'd know about it. The way these leaks happen, they'd leak it. It'd leak. If there was something really good, it would leak.
So just like we've been saying, they have every email, telephone call, and text. If there was something, it would leak. There isn't anything, which is why nothing is leaked and why they're still running stories with anonymous sources, anonymous this, anonymous that, no proof. This is how propaganda works, baby. There it is.
Misleading headlines.
Misleading headlines.
They do that constantly when it comes to this issue.
Yeah. It would have leaked before voting, I would say. If anything was good out there, it would have came out already.
Yeah, the leaks keep leaking, and there's so many great leaks, and it's amazing, and I just refuse to believe that if they had something really good like that wouldn't leak, because we've been getting all these other leaks, so I just feel like they don't really have it, but they want to keep digging.
I don't know. This is jaw-dropping stuff. This is confirming every goddamn thing we've been saying, and we've been mocked everywhere. Been mocked by everybody, even by the Young Turks. Right? Big disagreement over this story, the way it's being covered. And it's glad to see, just like with the sarin gas attack in 2013, the sarin gas that just happened attack with the cops in general, and now the Russia story. Jimmy Dore Show's been getting it right. So I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud that I didn't believe the government lies about the gas attack in Syria in 2013. I'm glad I didn't believe it. Or was it 2014? One of those years. The first sarin gas attack. Everybody bought it. Everybody wanted to go to war over it. So we've been getting it right.
It was 2013, by the way.
2013?
Yeah,
I was right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so now the last gas attack, same thing. Seymour Hersh just published an article saying that's BS. Here we have a senior producer at CNN saying it's BS. And then we have the host of Reliable Sources gaslighting you. Yeah, pay no attention. It's okay. Because what are you going to do now? They got all these Russia stories lined up to do. What are they going to do now? They have to cover news? So there's more to this.
And so I think the president is probably right to say, like, look, you are witch hunting me. Like, you have no smoking gun. You have no real proof.
So when you do shitty reporting like CNN, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and Rachel Maddow for especially, when you do that, when it's revealed to be bullshit, what you're doing is building up Trump. There's no greater way to build up Trump than to falsely report on him. There's no better way to build up Trump than to make him the victim.
Yeah, not only that, but, to what that guy driving the car was saying, like, oh, we're scrutinizing everything he does. Actually, you're not.
No.
You're scrutinizing one thing and over-amplifying it, so all of the other horrible shit this administration is trying to do is being swept under the rug, which again, also empowers this administration.
Ron, corporate media is so shitty, they can make a racist snake oil salesman, billionaire reality TV star almost look like a victim.
Exactly.
That's how shitty. In fact, he does look like a victim.
Yeah.
He does. Let's see, there's more to this.
No real proof, he says, and that speaks volumes about today's mainstream media. Bonifield says CNN loves the Russia story not because it's true, but because people want it to be true. They're feeding their audience a false narrative in order to get ratings. Their enthusiasm to report false news is getting the better of them. On Saturday, CNN imposed strict internal restrictions on all future Russia stories after they had to delete and retract a story that was poorly sourced. And yesterday, 3 CNN staffers resigned, victims of fake news. So where does that leave us?
It leaves CNN reinvigorating this guy's career. Now this guy's got a career again. Now this guy's going to be taken seriously again, thanks to CNN. Maybe you should go hire Corey Lewin. They're going to fucking hire this guy. I bet you any money they hire him and put him on a panel and pay him $500,000. They paid Corey Lewandowski $500,000 to come do propaganda on their show, on their news show, because they thought it would make them a nickel. That's why they did that. They didn't think he was going to tell them the truth. They didn't think he was going to be enlightening. They didn't think he was going to inform their audience. They didn't think he was going to help anybody make a better decision in the election. They knew he was going to come on and lie and undermine democracy and spew propaganda for a political campaign. And he did, and they paid him for it, and they don't give a shit, and they call that news. And now James O'Keefe looks like frickin' Walter Cronkite. And who looks like horrible newsmen that they are? CNN. Why? Because they are. They are barely a news organization. Barely. Anything?
You know, it made me remember when Richard Engel on Rachel Maddow's show was reporting how there's no evidence. Believe me, if there was some evidence of collusion with Russia, we are looking for it everywhere. And I think she said something to the effect, well, blackmail doesn't have to be true for it to work, or something like that. Do you recall that, Jimmy?
So this is not new information, by the way. I mean, it's new to have a guy admit it on camera who's a senior producer at CNN. It's not new to have a reporter from CNN gaslight you like Brian Stelter is doing. That's amazing. Just bald-faced fucking lying. Here is Richard Engel. Now, Richard Engel is the real deal. He's a real reporter. And so he was brought on, this is back in January, when they came out with that dossier. Remember that 2-page dossier that said the Russian prostitutes were peeing on the president? Remember that? And they had it? And that was being, remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
So Rachel Maddow brings on their straight reporter. I don't mean sexually straight. I mean, he just does straight reporting.
Right.
And so she brings him on, and she wants him to corroborate their Russia BS. He doesn't. Watch how fast they get rid of him. Now, she does Russia segments for 35 minutes at a time on her show. Watch how fast they get rid of him when he tells her that I've been trying to corroborate this stuff, and it doesn't even rise to the level of rumor. Watch how she dismisses him, doesn't want anything to do with him, and they get rid of him within like 3 minutes. I'm going to play the whole thing. It's only like 3 minutes long. The whole thing. Here we go.
Good to talk to you.
Might be the story of the century. Might be, we don't know.
It is very, very strange. And this has been bouncing around for several months now. There have been a lot of allegations. I would even call them rumors at this stage. That
He says, I wouldn't even call them rumors. They're just allegations. That's his jumping off point. These aren't even rumors yet. They're just allegations.
Russians put together a file on Donald Trump, compromising material, compromising him financially, compromising him personally.
Stuff that he did that was bad, that they had documentation of.
That they caught him on trips to Russia and neighboring states doing nefarious things, and that they have evidence to back it up, and that he effectively fell victim to a Russian trap. This is the allegation, and that they have assembled this file of compromising information on him, and that they're just waiting at any moment to either use it or use it to blackmail him so that he is sort of a puppet. I've heard these allegations for a long time. I've heard very, very specific allegations, times, places, amounts of money, specific activities. I haven't been able to prove any of it.
You've been chasing this story to see if you can
I've called
document
people in Russia. I've called leading experts. I've tried to chase it down in this country. And I'm not the only one. Other reporters have been given this kind of material and have been looking into it and haven't been able to prove it. And I called some of the sources who were sending this my way, and I said, okay, you have this material. You say it's as compromising as it is. Show me the proof. Show me these tapes that supposedly exist. Show me the records of the money that was supposedly paid. All of these things, these allegations that, if true, would be incredibly compromising. So far, I haven't been able to find anything.
So maybe let me... So you know Rachel Maddow's head is exploding right now. Like, stop it, you're going to kill my ratings! Stop it, if you debunk the story, what am I going to do for ratings? So here we go. He goes one step further.
But what's interesting...
Why is this coming out now, then?
So that's what's the interesting thing. There are lots of rumors. These rumors have been circulating for months now. Why would the intelligence community then today boil it down to 2 pages and drop it like a bomb on President-elect Trump, on many senior leaders in Washington, and on the president himself's lap? Why do it right now? And that's the question. I was told by a senior intelligence source that the reason they did it is the intelligence community is angry. The intelligence community effectively wants to put him on notice, saying, look, you're saying all these things about Russia. Be careful. There are all these allegations out there. Are any of them true? And I was told, quote, we can't help you, Mr. Trump, unless you tell us more. We need more input from you.
These allegations are out there. We need to know if we need to be taking care of this.
And lastly, that there was a concern that these allegations just in themselves could become a distraction and make it difficult for him to govern.
Well, yeah, it does. I mean...
So what he just said was that the CIA, the intelligence community, otherwise known as the deep state, was warning Trump, don't mess with us. We got stuff on you. That's what, that's what he's saying, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Dennis Kucinich said the same thing. Dennis Kucinich said that the president no longer has control of his intelligence apparatus. Barack Obama didn't either. That when Barack Obama struck a deal with Russia to share information in Syria, the deep state didn't like that. They sabotaged that deal. They got an airstrike that killed 100 Syrian soldiers. That deal was off with Russia. Dennis Kucinich said that. Here he is saying that he's been told that the CIA told Trump, even if it's not true, these allegations could be a serious distraction. Meaning, like, doesn't matter if you did this or not. We'll keep pushing it, and we'll screw you over. That's what I heard. And what does Rachel Maddow say to that? That, hey, it's not even true. It's just a rumor. There's no evidence to this. This is what she says.
You don't have to. It doesn't have to be true for you to blackmail somebody with it, right? I mean, I guess that's...
I would treat them at this stage with a lot of caution.
NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel.
I don't know, what was that, 3 minutes she spent on a guy debunking her bullshit story, and then she's going to spend 29 minutes bunking the story. Isn't that amazing? So he debunks the whole thing, and she goes, well, it doesn't have to be true to blackmail you. Yeah, actually it does. That's the whole point of fucking blackmail. It has to actually be true. So she's like, it doesn't have to be true to blackmail, so this guy's in trouble. Fuck it, Trump. I'm still going to keep talking about it. And when you think about how they come down on anybody else who talks about anything else that they don't want to talk about. So that happened right on MSNBC. She was given the facts. She ignored them, and she kept right on going. That's MSNBC. That's CNN. That's fucking MSNBC, the New York Times, the Washington Post. They're all horrible. That's why we had the Iraq War. That's why we have the Syria War. That's why we're still in Afghanistan. That's why we had Libya. That's why we have the biggest income disparity since the Gilded Age. Meanwhile, we're spending more on military than the rest of the world. That's why. That's why I have a show.
This entire event, whenever the hell it ends, which I don't know when it's going to at this point. Maybe we should do an over-under on the show for fun. But I truly believe this will be taught in journalism classes years from now on what not to do. And on a segment on media theory on when you have a for-profit model where advertisers and special interests come first and your obligation to provide news and information comes second. conflicts of interest happen, and sometimes they can be very toxic. This will be taught years from now as an example of what you should never do.
I hope so. I don't know who's teaching in those journalism schools. I really don't know who the F is teaching there, because they're all horrible. They're all corrupt. So the people who teach in journalism schools usually are ex-journalists. These people are horrible. Almost uniformly. And yes, there is still occasionally good work that's done. There's a good report.
Certainly.
So somebody could do a good report and then just go do Russia afterwards. It's disgusting. And guess what? Guess what our next story is? Our next story is CNN's journalists resign. Latest example of media recklessness on the Russians. That's coming. That's our next story. It doesn't end. Let's remember how CNN reports the Russia story. Headline, Intel analyst shows Putin approved election hacking. You read the whole story at the bottom. What does it say at the bottom? What does it say at the bottom? At the bottom it says, but neither of the sources said they knew of specific intelligence that directly ties Putin to the attack. That's how they report it. You should be put in jail for reporting stuff like that, because they have a platform. We have higher standards at my YouTube show than CNN, Washington Post, New York Times has. We have higher standards here. That's the truth. It's amazing. It's amazing that they can do this nonstop. And then the Washington Post puts me in the middle of a Seth Rich article. First of all, the last people to be debunking a fake story would be the Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, MSNBC. It's crazy. It's crazy. They couldn't be worse. They could not be worse. And did you see what they did to Lee Camp? We're going to talk about that. New York Times did a total spare piece. Okay, so there you go. That's CNN being so horrible. All of the establishment news media being so horrible that they just breathed life into James O'Keefe's career. Way to go. And you just propped up Trump, because now when he calls CNN fake news, it fucking is fake news. Holy shit. Remember they were going to pass laws about fake news? Remember that? They were going to try to pass laws to see who had fake news and who could be a journalist and who could. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Dianne Feinstein's going to choose who's a real journalist and who's not. So, again, why do we have a show? Why do people come? Why do we sell out shows everywhere we go? Because people are sick and tired of corporate media, baby. That's why. You see what's happening. They see what's happening. God damn. There's more. Hey, the next live Jimmy Dore show is July 17th. That's right, July 17th. That's a Monday in Burbank, California. Get your tickets right down here or go to jimmydorecomedy.com. July 17th, Burbank, California, live Jimmy Dore show.